There is a myth that every issue man can only imagine is already described and discussed in the history of classic literature thousands of times. In fact, it is not completely true. Like classical Russian literature knows a vast diversity of sexual issues. Incestual motifs appeared in short stories of NIKOLAI KARAMZIN, an author who lived at the late 18th century and well known as the leader of Romanticism tradition, as well as the author of the best early compendium of Russian history. Homosexual motifs appeared in early poems of MIKHAIL Lermontov, worldwide known for his masterpiece, Hero of Our Time, one of the first books in Russian that we can call psychological novel. In Netochka Nezvanova by Fyodor Dostoevsky, one can find lesbian motifs, and so on. No need to say that the motif of love between man and woman, is maybe the most productive motifs of all. At the same time, we find ourselves in a dead end when we ask about believable female characters in Russian classics. Eugene Onegin, the prototype of any Russian novel, is inherently a story of a man who does not accept a young maid's love and falls in love with the same woman when she is married. The woman's part here is to love him till she is free and to be faithful to her husband. Critical tradition made the iconic Russian woman's character out of Tatiana. But the truth is that we don't see the woman herself in this scheme at all. She is nothing more than the reflection of man's desire. All the 5 novels of Ivan Turgenev have the same structure. There are several male characters which are all in love with the same female character. Every man in this scheme represents a certain ideological position. Nihilism, traditionalism, revolutionary, you name it. At the end of the day, the man who is right, from Turgenev's point of view, has the woman's love as a prize. Female characters in the novels of Fyodor Dostoevsky are barely women at all. One can hardly resist the impression that Raskolnikov, Rogozhin, Karamazov and so on, they're all after the ghost of cross-dressed Dostoevsky himself. I mean, do you really believe that women in real world act like this, talk like this, desire like this? If you ask me, I cannot believe that. In other words, female characters in Dostoevsky novels represent desire of man. Quite the different statement we can make about Nabokov's Lolita. The point of woman's desire truly exists in the structure of the novel, but the author puts it indirectly, like in the reflection of Humbert's perversive consciousness. Just like astronomers of the past found invisible planets by observing visible ones' moves. Maybe the only case of representing woman consciousness is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. And this makes this novel outstanding out of even such a great tradition as Russian. Woman herself still stays the dark side of the moon for us. Yet there are a vast majority of female authors in Russian literature. Most of them sadly repeat classical patterns and stay in classical narrative structures in which the place for woman just does not designed. In other words, Russian literature has a very wide and undiscovered field to study. It is that of the inner life of woman, or to put it in Lacan's terms, the mystery of woman's enjoyment. The good news is that Russian culture stays widely open for all influences, and among them the influence of feminist ideas is maybe the strongest. More and more female authors write in Russian, trying to express the specific point of women's desire and women's enjoyment. Yet these experiments are no doubt extremely important. Still, there is something disturbing about them. Most of these texts express the woman's enjoyment as the opposite to the enjoyment of man, and the meeting of these two as a trauma for women. Where does the woman's freedom lies? In confronting to the fearful other? And where then lies the freedom of man? What if contradiction between feminine and masculine is not somehow natural in biological or psychological sense, but on the contrary, totally cultural? And more than that, the very contemporary type of this contradiction produced by culture of modernity. We all know that the culture of late capitalism is extremely hypocritical and quite repressive. The economy of late capitalism produces a huge amount of money by breaking down the basic social connections between people. Ironically, one of the most important instruments of this demolition calls the name of social networks. The connection between woman and man is one of the strongest at all. This is to say, it is the source of great profit for late capitalism economy. Just think of one thing. How many washing machines can you sell to a family or to two divided persons? Talking of trauma of others' desire meeting and not mentioning the cultural, social and economic causes of this trauma, not talking of class nature of all these contradictions, we in fact produce and support these contradictions in favor of ruling class. What if women's desire and women's enjoyment are not opposed to desire and enjoyment of man? What if this very opposition is social construct as well as constructs of masculinity or femininity? Couldn't they meet each other at some point of political resistance and become allies, or even reach the enjoyment of both of them in fantasizing of the revolution, or at least the revolution of social relations? The fact is that the Russian literature at the moment finds itself at the beginning of the long and quite intriguing journey. I'm waiting for the appearance of a number of books exploring the inner woman's life in its political dimension. Thank you for listening.